Right now, as you sit watching this, your liver is quietly doing something most people over 60 never think about. It is manufacturing cholesterol, pumping it into your gut, and then your body is pulling nearly all of it right back in, over and over, every single day, without stopping. Here is the part that no one explains to you. 95% of the cholesterol in your blood does not come from what you eat. Your own body makes it, recycles it, hoards it. And no one in a 7-minute appointment has the time to tell you why that matters. That is why you cut the eggs, cut the butter, cut the cheese, maybe even cut the red meat, and watched your numbers barely move. Not because you failed, because you were fighting the wrong battle the whole time. What actually works is choosing foods that grab that cholesterol inside your gut before your body can pull it back in and physically drag it out of you. That is the mechanism. And today, I am going to give you the 10 best foods that do exactly that. And stay with me, because number 1 on this list, I am saving it for last, and it is the one that works fastest. Most people never use it correctly. That changes today. Now, before I get into the list, a quick note. Everything I share today is based on published research and clinical observation, but your health is personal. Please bring this to your doctor before making changes, especially if you are on medication. Now, what country are you watching from? Drop it in the comments right now. I love knowing who is here with me today. Here is what I need you to hold in your mind for the next few minutes. Every food on this list does one of two things. It either grabs the bile your liver dumps into your gut and carries it out before your body reabsorbs it, or it feeds the bacteria in your gut that break cholesterol down so your body simply cannot absorb it. That is the whole game. Now, bile is important here. Your liver makes bile from cholesterol. It dumps that bile into your gut to help digest food. Then, this is the part that matters. Your body sucks about 95% of that bile right back out and recycles it, which means your blood cholesterol just keeps circulating and keeps building. Research from Johns Hopkins points to evidence that getting 5 to 10 grams of soluble fiber daily can produce a meaningful drop in LDL cholesterol, and you will hit that easily with what is coming. There is one more thing worth doing. Ask your doctor for a test called lipoprotein(a). Say it just like that. It is the genetic piece of your cholesterol picture that food cannot touch. Most people never get it checked once in their lives. One test tells you whether food is enough or whether you need a different conversation with your doctor. Now let me start at number 10. Number 10, garlic. Here's what makes garlic interesting. When you crush a raw clove, an enzyme immediately creates a compound called allicin. That is the thing that makes your eyes water. Allicin does two things for cholesterol. It nudges your LDL down a few points, and it calms the inflammation that makes cholesterol stick to your artery walls in the first place. Think of inflamed arteries like sandpaper on the inside of a pipe. Cholesterol catches on every little edge. Allicin helps smooth that surface. The National Institutes of Health reviewed the evidence. The effect is real, modest, a few points. But garlic is also doing a second favor at the same time, a mild drop in blood pressure, so it earns its place. Here is the part almost nobody knows. That allicin only forms after you crush or chop the clove and let it sit for 10 full minutes. If you throw raw garlic straight into a hot pan, you destroy it before it ever forms. Crush it first. Let it rest on your cutting board while you get everything else ready. Then add it near the end of cooking. 1 to 2 cloves a day. That is all you need. Number 9, onions. Onions are loaded with a prebiotic fiber called inulin. And inulin is exactly what the good bacteria in your gut are hungry for. Feed them and they break down more bile. More bile out means your liver has to pull more cholesterol from your blood to make new bile. That recycling loop starts working in your favor. Onions also carry an antioxidant called quercetin. Research has tied it to lower inflammation and slightly lower blood pressure. The whole family counts here. Red onions, white onions, leeks, shallots. Cooking is fine. The prebiotic fiber holds up to heat just fine. Caramelized onions still feed your gut, and I will say this honestly. Onions are one of the most underrated tools on this list because they make everything else taste good enough to actually eat tomorrow. The best cholesterol food in the world does nothing if you hate it and quit after a week. Number 8, broccoli. Broccoli brings soluble fiber, but its real power is a compound called glucoraphanin. When you chop broccoli, an enzyme converts it into sulforaphane, and sulforaphane switches on a protective system inside your cells called NRF2. Think of NRF2 as your body's own internal repair crew. activating to protect your blood vessels from the daily damage that stiffens them over years. Researchers at Johns Hopkins have studied sulforaphane extensively. It has been tied to lower LDL cholesterol and reduced inflammation in multiple studies. Now, I need to be crystal clear about something. The trick almost nobody does. Chop your broccoli and let it sit for 20 to 30 minutes before you cook it. That rest gives the enzyme time to create the sulforaphane. Cook it the second you cut it, and the heat destroys the process before it starts. Steam it until just tender. Do not boil it gray. And if you cannot stand broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts are the same family. They do the same job. Number 7, ground flaxseed. This might be the single easiest addition on the entire list. Flax is one of the richest sources of soluble fiber you can buy. It also carries plant omega-3s and compounds called lignans. Both bring cholesterol down on their own. Put them together, and the Cleveland Clinic points to meaningful LDL reductions in people who use ground flax consistently. But here is the catch, and it is important. If you eat whole flax seeds, they pass right through you. The shell is too tough. Your gut cannot crack it. You get almost nothing. They must be ground. Buy ground flaxseed, or grind them yourself in a cheap coffee grinder. Keep them in the refrigerator so the oils stay fresh. 2 tablespoons a day is the target. Stir it into oatmeal, yogurt, or soup. You will not taste it, and it costs almost nothing. Meet Susan, 69 years old, retired from the Postal Service after 30 years. She has a small apartment in Virginia, a cat named Biscuit, and a framed photo of her grandchildren on the kitchen windowsill. When she came to see me about her cholesterol, she was frustrated. She had been avoiding eggs, red meat, and butter for 2 years. Her LDL was still sitting at 162. Her doctor was starting to talk about medication. She was afraid of side effects, and she felt like her body had just stopped cooperating. Picture her leaning forward in her chair. She says quietly, "I feel like I am doing everything right and still failing." I want you to hear this. She was not failing. The system had just never explained to her how cholesterol actually works in the body. And that is not her fault. That is what happens when the appointment is 7 minutes long and the focus is on writing a prescription. I told Susan, the food you have been cutting out is not the main problem. It is the food you have not been adding in. Those are very different battles. She looked at me like I had just said the most surprising thing she had ever heard. And honestly, that reaction tells me everything I need to know about how poorly this information gets communicated. I will come back to Susan. But first, keep moving. Number 6. Apples. That old line about an apple a day actually holds up. Apples are dense with a soluble fiber called pectin. Pectin grabs cholesterol in your gut and carries it out. A 2020 study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition put people on 2 apples a day and measured their LDL and triglycerides over several weeks. Both came down. The whole apple does a second thing. It is filling. Eat one and you are satisfied. Much less likely to reach for something worse an hour later. Important. The whole fruit. Not applesauce, which has a fraction of the fiber. Not apple juice, which has almost none, and adds a significant sugar hit that pushes your triglycerides up. Eat the apple. Eat the skin. That is where much of the pectin lives. Pears, oranges, and even carrots carry similar pectin. Rotate them in. Number 5, walnuts. Most of this list works through fiber. Walnuts earn their place a completely different way. They are rich in healthy polyunsaturated fat, including plant omega-3s. When that fat replaces the saturated fat you might otherwise be snacking on, your LDL drops, and the lining of your arteries begins to function better. The American Heart Association ties a small, daily handful of walnuts to lower cardiovascular risk. Studies show it is enough to nudge LDL down a few percent. Other nuts help too. Almonds and pistachios both lower cholesterol, but walnuts carry the most plant omega-3s of the group. Now I want to clear something up that confuses almost everyone. Not all fat is working against you. The fat in nuts, olive oil, avocado, and fish actually supports your heart. The fat that quietly works against you is saturated fat, the hard, solid kind that stays firm at room temperature. Fatty cheese, fried food, packaged pastries. That kind tells your gut to hold on to its cholesterol instead of dumping it. One small handful of walnuts, not the whole bag, and not the sugary candied kind. Number 4, barley. Now this is where things get really interesting. Barley is loaded with a specific soluble fiber called beta-glucan. And beta-glucan is the most powerful bile trapper on this list. It forms a thick gel in your gut. Picture old-fashioned wallpaper paste, that viscous, sticky coating lining the inside of your intestines. Cholesterol and bile particles try to get reabsorbed, and the gel just holds them, traps them, carries them out. The evidence is solid enough that the FDA allows food companies to print a heart health claim on barley products. A review by Ho and colleagues found barley beta-glucan lowered LDL by around 7% in controlled trials. The easiest way to use it is a simple swap. Replace the white rice next to your dinner with barley, or throw a handful into soup where it thickens everything beautifully. You have just turned a fiber-empty starch into one of the most effective cholesterol tools you can buy. Look for whole barley over pearled barley when you can. Pearling strips the outer layer and takes some of the fiber with it. And here is a bonus trick. Cook barley, cool it in the refrigerator overnight, and eat it the next day. Cooling converts some of the starch into resistant starch, which feeds your good bacteria and flattens your blood sugar. 2 wins from 1 extra step. Number 3, black beans. If you eat meat most evenings, this is your single biggest move. A few nights a week, swap the meat for black beans. Beans bring soluble fiber plus that resistant starch I just mentioned. And resistant starch feeds the bacteria that produce a compound called butyrate. Butyrate is essentially fuel for your gut lining. And a healthier gut lining is part of how your body keeps cholesterol moving out rather than being pulled back in. The research here is strong. A review published in the Canadian Medical Association Journal pulled together multiple studies and found that just 1 serving of beans or lentils per day lowered LDL by about 5%. A plain, cheap food doing what a lot of people are hoping a pill will do. I will be honest with you. Beans cause some gas the first week or two. That is just your gut bacteria adjusting to the new fiber. It settles. A couple of things help. If you use dried beans, soak them overnight and pour that water out before cooking. If you use canned, rinse them well. Start with half a cup and work up slowly. Push through it. The payoff is worth it. Now, I need to be crystal clear about something important. If you are currently taking a statin medication, please do not make any changes without talking to your doctor first. These foods can work alongside your medication. For many people, adding them creates enough additional benefit that a future conversation about dose adjustment becomes possible. But that conversation belongs with your physician. Back to Susan. She started 3 things. Ground flaxseed in her morning yogurt, barley swapped in for rice at dinner most nights, and a bowl of bean soup she started making on Sundays to last the week. Week 1, she messaged me. She said, "The bean soup is making me bloated." I told her that was expected. Push through. Week 2, she reported something interesting. She said, "I feel fuller in the evenings, not as tempted by crackers before bed." At her 6-week recheck, her LDL had dropped from 162 to 141, 21 points, without medication. Picture her face when she saw that number. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I cannot believe food actually did this. But here's what I need you to understand about Susan's results. 21 points is on the stronger end of what I typically see in 6 weeks. Your results may be different. Some people see more, some see less. And the speed depends on how consistently you use these tools. What the research shows is that the majority of people who add these foods daily, in the right amounts, see meaningful movement in LDL within 4 to 8 weeks. Number 2, navy beans. All beans are valuable, but the white ones, navy beans specifically, are the soluble fiber champions of the group. A single cup carries around 19 grams of fiber. That is more than most Americans eat in an entire full day, sitting in one bowl. And that fiber does double duty. It traps bile directly. And it feeds the bacteria that break cholesterol into forms your body simply cannot reabsorb. You do not have to make it navy beans specifically. Lentils, chickpeas, kidney beans, pinto beans, they all move in the same direction. Rotate them through the week. Keep a few cans in the cabinet. Rinse them well before using to cut the sodium and reduce the gas. Add a cup to soups, salads, chili, whatever is already on your plate. Cheap, simple, and it consistently earns one of the highest spots on every clinical review of cholesterol-lowering foods. That is not a coincidence. And here is something worth knowing. Beans show up in the everyday diet of nearly every group of long-lived people studied around the world. The Sardinians, the Okinawans, the Loma Linda population in California. Not occasionally, daily. There is a reason for that. Number 1, The one I have been teasing since the beginning. Oats. Here is what makes oats remarkable. They carry the same beta-glucan fiber as barley, but with more research behind them than almost any other single food for lowering cholesterol. Get around 3 grams of beta-glucan per day, which is roughly 1 good bowl of steel-cut or old-fashioned rolled oats, and both Mayo Clinic and the FDA point to a 5 to 10% drop in LDL in as little as 4 weeks. Not months, weeks. That is the honest truth behind the word fastest. Steel-cut oats. Old-fashioned rolled oats, not the flavored instant packets. The sugar in those packets works directly against everything you are trying to accomplish. It raises your triglycerides. It blunts the fiber benefit. It undoes the work. Top your bowl with berries or a spoonful of ground flaxseed instead of brown sugar, a pinch of cinnamon. And you have done more for your cholesterol before 9 in the morning than most people manage in an entire week of other efforts. And if you want even more power, Oat Bran has a higher concentration of beta-glucan than regular oats. Worth adding when you can find it. One more thing. About 1 in 3 people are what is called super absorbers. Your genes program your gut to reclaim as much cholesterol as it can, no matter how carefully you eat. If you have done everything right for months and your numbers barely moved, or if high cholesterol runs hard in your family and appears in thin, active people too, you may be a super absorber. That is not a failure. That is genetics. And the good news is, super absorbers respond especially well to a daily wall of soluble fiber. For you, the 3 foods that carry the most weight are oats, barley, and beans. The key word is daily, not now and then. Daily. Your doctor can also discuss plant sterols and stanols with you. These compounds compete directly with cholesterol for absorption and can lower LDL by an additional 10% or so. Ask them about it at your next appointment. Now, if this is helping you, hit the like button right now. It costs you nothing, and it puts this information in front of someone else who needs it just as much as you do. Let me give you the honest timeline. Use these foods consistently starting today. Your LDL can begin dropping in about 2 to 4 weeks. It continues improving from there. One thing to know. Your cholesterol lives in your blood for only a few days at a time. Eating well for 2 days right before a blood test will not fake a good number. It is the daily habit over weeks that actually moves the measurement. One final tool worth mentioning. A tablespoon of plain psyllium husk stirred into a glass of water once a day is one of the purest forms of soluble fiber available. It is the same ingredient in most fiber supplements at the pharmacy. Taken with plenty of water, it works right alongside everything on this list. Ask your doctor if it is appropriate for you, particularly if you are on any medication. Here is your one starting point, not 10 things. 1. Change breakfast. A bowl of oats with 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed and a handful of berries. That single change begins attacking the recycling loop that has kept your cholesterol elevated. Everything else is additive from there, and when your doctor rechecks your numbers in 6 to 8 weeks, you will have something real to show them. Today you learned how your body actually recycles cholesterol, why cutting food alone never fully worked, and what foods can change that loop starting tomorrow morning. Type "I finished" in the comments if you made it all the way through. And share this with one person today. Your spouse, your sibling, a friend who has been watching their numbers climb. One share from you might change everything for them. Next week, I am covering something that most people with high cholesterol are also doing every morning and have no idea it is making things worse. It involves a breakfast habit that is almost universal in people over 60, and the research on it is genuinely surprising. You will want to be here for that. Do not let anyone tell you it is too late, because it is not.